Welcome to day 4, week 4. We've spent the first 3 sessions of this week looking at the fractals by themselves. And what we're going to do today is we're going to put the alligator with them and look at a couple of charts, 3 or 4 charts. And then we suggest that after this session is over, that you spend at least 30 to 45 minutes looking at various charts with the alligator and picking out and marking the fractals. So now let's go right to it. We know you've done the AT in the morning pages. Let's go to week 4, day 4 on the fractal. Our goal today, to repeat that, is to examine the fractal signal in more detail to make sure that we can recognize them easily and instantaneously. And also we want to discriminate using Professor Alligator. So let's go right to the chart. This is the chart we looked at yesterday, and this was a chart in coffee that a little over 2 months made over $111,000. And we want to extend this chart now. Notice that this one ended in mid-March. We want to go forward with that, and we want to also put the alligator in there. So let's look at trading the fractal with the alligator. Here's the alligator, the jaw, the teeth, and the lips. And notice that back here in April, this was the top that we made. We had the good run with $111,000, and then the alligator is closing his mouth here. And notice that we had a fractal down. Now this fractal down here is a legal, legitimate fractal, and we bought the low here, or excuse me, we sold the low here because this was a valid fractal since it was outside of the mouth. Now here are the rules for taking the fractal. The first entry after the alligator has been sleeping has to be a fractal. So any signals that any one of the 5 signals that happen inside the mouth or in here in the mouth are not valid. So we went short here. This was a whiplash. We were reversed, and the first buy signal was here. Now, we'll tell you how we got out of this trade later in this course. There are 5 different ways of getting out of a trade, and one of them is that when the price goes back into the alligator's mouth, you just get out of that trade. So here was our first fractal up. It was hit on the 3rd day after, actually it was hit the 1st day after it was formed. It was hit 3 days after the high of the fractal, so we went long here. Then this was the second fractal, and let's look at that. This is the beginning fractal outside of the mouth, and you've seen this chart before. We're going to use this chart throughout because it's basically a good one and it's typical. Here's our first fractal out. Here's our second fractal out, our 3rd fractal out, 4th fractal out, 5th fractal buy, 6th fractal buy. Now notice that you had also a fractal sell here. It was outside the mouth. Had the market come down and triggered that, then we would be short 1 tick below this fractal, but it never happened. Then we had a fractal. The next fractal down was here. We would never take that fractal because that would be feeding the alligator. That would be using the fractal or ending the fractal as it goes in the mouth. We have another fractal down here, but it's still outside the mouth, so we would never, ever take that fractal. Another fractal here, sell. But again, we would never, never take the fractal. So what we've done so far this week is we hope that you have a very good idea in your own mind of how a fractal is formed so that you can locate them immediately. Today we suggest that you spend, again, 30 to 40 minutes locating fractals on charts that are not in the book and new charts to you. We would take every one of these fractals buys from bifractals because they're outside the mouth. This was another profitable run, not as profitable as the 2 months before, but any of these runs that are outside the mouth are going to be profitable. And hopefully you're beginning to see what a nice fellow Professor Alligator is, because he's going to teach us exactly which ones to take and which ones not to take. Now let's look at some more fractals, and again, let's simplify it just a little bit so that we can see it without we're not going to put the alligator on here, we're just going to put the fractal buys. Now the alligator here was below, and this is the S&P on a daily basis, and this is the one you've seen before, just over 3 months, but we want to show it to you again. We have a fractal buy here, our first one, second one, third one, 4th one, 5th one, 6th one, 7, 8, 9, and although the market doesn't show it, this created a fractal here which was later taken out and bought there. Now notice that even though we don't show it, the alligator is down in here. All of this entire move is above the alligator's mouth. Here we have a fractal down, which we would not take because it's be feeding the alligator. Another fractal down, another invalid sell fractal, another fractal, another fractal, another sell fractal, another sell fractal. This is not a sell fractal here because you only have one. This bar and this bar have the same lows. Another fractal sell, and another fractal sell here. So once again, we want to be very, very discriminating in which fractals we take. We want to only trade with the trend. That's the only way that we can make money, is to get in the market the way the market is moving and let the market make the money for us. Again, let's review how powerful this is by looking at how much money you would have made had you taken these trades, only the fractal trades. Now remember, we have 5 grounded assessments, and we take every one of the grounded assessments if Professor Alligator allows us to do that. So let's look at the chart on these fractal results, and there were 9 buys, and remember that it had a little over $368,000 in a little over 3 months. So that's about $120,000 a month, and that's about $120,000 a month, and if you have 20 trading days, that's an average of about $6,000 a day. That's somewhat better than working for a living. Okay, let's review a little bit then. The fractal examples shown on this week so far were mostly buy signals. Now sell signals work exactly the same way in a down market. So at the end of today, what we have seen is a picture of the possibilities that lay in the market when you're in tune and following the lead of the fractal trade indicator. So again, let me strongly suggest that before tomorrow, you pick out some charts, or if you have a computer that has the charts on it, go through a number of charts. If you have a computer and also on the internet, we strongly suggest that you download our proprietary software, Investor's Dream, and that will mark the fractals for you, and you can go through that one day at a time. Spend a lot of time on just the fractals, and you can program that software so it only shows the fractals, and then we'll add the other indicators as we go through. So that's about it for the end of day 4, week 4, and tomorrow we're going to review for tomorrow, but make sure again that you're practicing looking for these fractals every chance you get. We'll see you tomorrow.